Good morning. Welcome to For the Health of It this morning. I am your host, Dr. Scott Phillips, local chiropractor and owner of Lifestyle Chiropractic and Wellness Center in the Clock Tower building here on Main Street. And it's a beautiful Thursday morning. It's the week before Christmas time, and if I were just a little bit ahead of myself, or more ahead than I was this morning, I would have thought of playing some sort of Christmas music for my theme this morning, but it's too late. It's over. And the next time you'll hear me will be the 8th of January, way too late to play any type of theme music that is Christmas related. So I'll put that in my pocket. I'll try to remember for next year. And anyway, but I like my theme song, so. So let's talk a little bit this morning. We're going to jump right into our guest first and foremost because Miss Amy has to leave a little earlier than some of my guests. She's a little bit cooler, a little more popular than than I had originally thought, and
I'll go with that.
I thought we were, I thought we could have 3 to 4 hours, but she said no, you get a half hour because that's what I give the president, and so that's what you get, type of thing.
It's the best half
yeah,
hour.
I mean,
though,
look,
yeah. First thing in the morning.
Anyway, so we'll kind of go through some events and some articles and things like that after we finish talking with Amy here. But in case you're wondering, in case I have to give you some incentive to hold on, the things we're talking about today, one is an article I ran across about the CDC, or actually the FDA, warning parents against using cough medicine for kids, which I thought was interesting, something I'd never heard of, but something I guess that they've been warning for a long time. And this is kind of a time of year where throats get scratchy. And so we're going to talk about kind of some alternatives and some reasons why the FDA does not endorse giving cough medicine to children. And then the other thing is I came across a website of a young man, and I say that because he turned 113 years old in August of this year, and I ran across what he calls the 5 foods that he really, really makes sure that he eats every single day. And this guy has videos, he has books. I mean, he's one of the most aware senior citizens that I have ever kind of come across on the World Wide Web. And anyway, it's inspiring that he's 113 years old. And so we're going to talk about his 5 favorite foods. I like that alliteration.
Please tell me donuts is one of them.
Yeah, no, they're
My
not.
fingers
Sorry,
are crossed.
sorry. I can spoil it this time right now and say donuts is not one of them. Sorry, Amy. But so Amy, you're no stranger to KTMP. You've been on here a few times, and so
Yes.
hopefully those who are listening this morning have heard you before, and maybe they haven't, and if not, so let's get you a little bit of an intro. I guess tell me exactly what it is. I don't know. Do you have a title? Or are you like?
Yeah, I like to think I do, hopefully. I am a licensed dog trainer, so I have my own company called Paws Forward Dog Training, but I get the pleasure of working with our local animal shelter here in Heber, as well as Paws for Life,
Right.
which is the nonprofit organization. So I get to kind of be really involved with the community and all the dogs around it.
Yeah, and I was hoping that you had that we could call you something like, Master Amy or Trainer Amy.
Let's talk about that. I like that. Master is good.
Master.
The master.
Why not? So dog train. Now, is it just dogs? When I put the promo out on Facebook, I thought, oh, she might train other animals, but I didn't know.
Just dogs.
Just dogs.
Yes, that's what I specialize in. I would love to think I understand other animals, but I don't. It's just dogs and I get along best, I think.
I'm wondering if you're ever thinking of branching out to I don't know, ferrets or chinchillas.
I do love any type of animal. I think my husband would not thank you for that. He's not loving that, but I could probably handle that. Cats are the only thing. I wish I could understand them. I try to use dog psychology on them. I swear, it's a difficult thing to tackle.
I think cats train us.
I think that's probably a good way to look at it. They're the human trainers.
So I had told that I just kind of put it out there that this is really my first animal health segment. And anyone who's been in my office before or has had this conversation with me, I have worked on dogs and cats in my chiropractic office. And it's fascinating to me because I see similar improvements. I see similar health miracles, you can say, in these animals with chiropractic. That I have to say there's definitely this similarity between physiologically anyway. Between the two species, and so someone who works on animals and feels like health in animals should be a priority. Myself, it's sad that it's taken me this long to get someone on to talk about animal health, but I know there are a lot of people out there that love their animals. I think there was a statistic that I saw that 1 in 3 homes have a dog, at least one.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's the up-to-date number.
It's got to be pretty accurate, especially in Heber.
Right, and I was going to say in Heber it might be more than that. When my wife is one to get a dog, then I think, okay, I think that's everyone. I think she might be the last one in the world.
That's it, tapped out.
Now everyone's got one. So anyway, so it's a big thing. A lot of people have pets. A lot of people have dogs, especially, and I know they drive their humans crazy, but then they're also this great source of enjoyment and of love and of companionship. And so I guess just to jump right in, what kind of led you in this path? Why are you so passionate about dogs specifically and animals in general? And why did you feel like, hey, this is my calling to come out there and really help people kind of understand their dogs a little better and help these dogs be a little healthier?
That goes back to when I was, I think it was back in high school. I started fostering some dogs.
Really?
Just to get them out of the shelters.
And your parents were cool with that?
It took a lot of
Did they know?
A lot of convincing, but they were gracious enough to let me try it out. And after a while, I realized a lot of these dogs who I would bring in, most of them were on, I guess you could call it death row. They were at their last bit because of space in a shelter. And I realized they were there because of behavioral issues.
Right.
And it wasn't because of their personality necessarily. It's because they were a dog.
Yeah.
And they weren't given the right techniques and the right way to be handled. Because when you bring a dog in your home, psychologically, they're going to be a dog.
Yeah.
And we have to teach them manners in our world. So once I found that out, I decided to kind of change my course of fostering and try to become educated in dog psychology to actually find the problem, what we consider a problem, learn how to communicate to them, and then avoid owners having to bring their dogs into a shelter because there's some sort of gap that they weren't able to bridge between communication. So that's kind of where the passion came from, and ever since it's led into a lot of other opportunities. But I love working with dogs. Like you said, they give you so much enjoyment, so much.
So I want to kind of shout out to our shelter a little bit. It's a no-kill shelter.
Yes.
Which I think is pretty amazing.
It's awesome.
I don't know if you were around when one of those concerts in the park, they brought the old gas chamber out that they had used a long time ago. Did you hit it?
Yes.
Oh, I was there watching it. I thought that was fun. I'll tell you that it was a pretty sturdy machine.
It was. I have to tell you, it was one of those things where you could see so much passion behind.
Sure. People were just whacking away.
Yes. Yes.
And so I think that's really cool, and so I think that's something that our valley should be very proud of. But we do have a shelter, and we do have dogs in that shelter. Mm-hmm. We have Paws for Life. We have all these organizations. Tell me right off the bat, people out there, what do you guys need from that standpoint, from a rescuing standpoint? What can we do? What can the average...
The biggest thing is bring awareness.
Yeah.
You know, not everyone's looking for a cat or a dog right now, but you may know somebody who is. And we have a lot of great workers at not only the animal shelter, but with Paws for Life as well, who can answer any questions if you're looking for a specific breed.
Yeah.
We have, and we were talking earlier, we even have rabbits and ferrets come through. We have everything at the shelter. Right. So awareness is huge. And then, resources such as, like right now, kitty litter, dog food, things like that we can keep, the shelter equipped to be able to bring in more animals and be able to give them a place to stay temporarily before finding their forever homes.
So people can donate that kind of stuff and bring it by.
Donations are always encouraged.
Not just can, but should.
Yeah. Yes.
This is a great time of year. Obviously, people are always looking for that perfect gift. And I think animals are always kind of at the top of kids' lists.
Oh, it's still on the top of mine.
I wanted a lion when I was a younger one.
That is really ambitious.
And my parents got me a stuffed one, which was nice of them. But
did it take the edge off?
Not really. It's almost more disappointing, to be honest.
You're like, oh, I was so close.
Like, wait, how am I supposed to run? But, I guess I have to be, say that my parents were probably smart by doing it that way. So in the interest of animal health, I think this is what I'm interested in is where do you see the bridges gap? Like what's similar? Like, we talk on the show, we talk about exercise, we talk about good nutrition, we talk about, positive influence, positive emotions, positive thoughts, those types of things. I know all of that transfers over into a dog realm, but I know probably a lot of owners are kind of out there being like, yeah, but they're dogs, right? I mean, doesn't that kind of come into play? So tell me maybe what advice that you give someone that has a dog and says, I love my dog, they're great for my kids, I'm not really sure how to help them be as happy and healthy as they can be. What are some really simple ways to start?
Well, the great news is dogs are actually simple when you know how to handle them.
Yeah.
So whenever I go into a client's home, the first thing we talk about is dog psychology and what they need. And they need 3 things. And not only these 3 things, but in order. So they need exercise, followed by dominance or leadership, followed by affection. So if we approach this using human psychology, usually the first thing we want to overload our dogs with is affection.
Sure.
We just want to love on them.
Just love those dogs.
Exactly. They're easy to.
They're super
But at the
easy.
end of the day, that really is the last thing they need to psychologically be in a healthy state of mind.
Yeah.
So that's when we always try to come in and remind them that exercise is key. These dogs need to work, and they want to work. And then giving them that clear, consistent leadership is very crucial as well.
Yeah. That sounds like 3 things that I need, to be honest.
Don't we all?
I want to break. I've got this fun little list of facts about dogs that there's some that I really thought was pretty awesome. So every now and then, just for fun, I want to throw one out there. So the most dogs ever owned by one person on record, do you have any idea? What would you guess?
Legally or illegally?
Well, just it doesn't go into that here.
Let's throw out a weird number. Let's say 30.
Okay, 30 would be a lot, especially if you're talking about like a residential home.
That's what I'm thinking.
So I think this is just in history because the person that owned them was Kublai Khan, who is a historical figure, and apparently he was a Mastiff guy, and,
oh my goodness,
and owned 5,000.
Oh my goodness.
But I don't think he had like a 3-bedroom. He probably had some land.
He had an estate for these Mastiffs.
I would imagine. Anyway, so like I say, every now and then we're going to throw in a little...
I was a little off.
But hey, if you had 30 dogs in your house
right
now, that's a lot of dogs. How many dogs do you have?
I have one.
Just one?
I just have
Is that your
one.
only pet too?
Yes.
That's impressive.
I get to work with so many that I feel like I can live vicariously through other people. But I have Dante. He's my little white Bossy. He's a Border Collie Aussie. I think Bossy is a great name for him. Bossy's a perfect name. Yep.
So, okay, so we talk about the 3 things, and so exercise being one for sure. Tell me, is that like structured stuff? Is that something to say, hey, go and take the dog for a walk? Or is it like, hey, dog, go outside and play? I mean, what's kind of the...
I think it's very easy to just say, well, I have a nice fenced-in backyard.
Right,
I let him
the
out
dog
every
out.
day.
Yeah.
Well, if he's not being stimulated, and usually dogs really need us to have that, then you're not giving him the proper exercise. So it really depends on the breed and the size and the age. But I always tell my clients, I really advise them to give them a half hour in the morning, a half hour at night, if not more, walking, maybe a nice game of fetch.
Sure.
And then also there are options too. If you can't necessarily get out in the yard and play fetch, you can mentally stimulate them. So getting toys such as like a Kong filled with peanut butter and have them try to focus on getting that peanut butter out can really mentally stimulate them. So we got to think, like if we go to an office and we work on a computer for 8 hours a day, we come home and we're exhausted. We weren't really doing anything physically necessarily, but mentally we're exhausted. It's the same concept for the dogs.
Okay. And I'll tell you that it's funny because it's that evening time that my dog always comes up with something for me to throw to her, Okay. And that's
all planned out.
That's kind of when I don't want to play with her, but I usually break. You can.
Good for you.
Like,
getting out the energy. It's important.
It's interesting because really, I mean, I could throw that thing 80 times and she'd go and get it each single time.
And you have a smaller dog, right?
Yeah, I've got a little, 6 to 8 pound little Shorkie. She's got energy, that's for sure. And you can tell. I mean, the days, like you say, that human stimulation. I mean, if we just let her outside, she loves to lay. She loves to be lazy. Inside the house, if there's no one around, if there's nothing going on, I mean, you can find her in her bed just on her back, almost buried in the thing, you know. And so yeah, I think definitely that exercise to get her out and have the kids playing with her, throwing the ball around, that kind of thing, I think is really, really good. When you talk about dominance, leadership, that kind of thing, I mean, obviously people can take that to an unhealthy level.
Yes.
Tell me what you like to recommend as far as just kind of exerting yourself and saying, hey, this is my house.
Well, and that's always a good thing. The first thing is dominance does not mean aggressive in any sort of way. Even using your voice aggressively isn't necessarily the most effective tactic when handling a dog. So people have probably heard this before. If you want that calm, assertive dog, or excuse me, the calm, submissive dog, you have to be that calm, assertive leader.
Sure.
So you're handling your dog with a strong stance. Your shoulders are up. You're confidently walking. You're confidently standing in front of them. You're using a very relaxed voice. It's not about yelling, because the second we start getting hyper, they're going to start getting hyper, good or bad. So, and it's also about making sure that they know their place in the home. They always need to follow you out the door. When you're going back inside of the house, they're following you back inside. You know, it's just simple things about waiting for their food.
Right.
You know, not just free feeding them all day.
Right.
Letting them know who handles the food, which actually, when you're handling the food, you're handling one of the most powerful tools for a dog, because you're speaking dog. So just simple things like that is a great way to show your dominance or leadership in the family.
I love my dog. Like, she'll bark at the bowl when it's time for food. And so it's really funny because she'll bark for a second, then she'll wait. And then if we know it, then she'll start dragging the dish out because it's kind of in the closet. So she'll drag it out and then kind of put it in the middle of the room like, hello, here it is again.
So she doesn't lack personality.
No. And then if we still don't pay attention to her, she'll try to knock it over because it'll make a sound. It is really funny. I'm telling you, these dogs are...
Some of the smallest dogs, honestly, have the biggest personality, too.
You need to come meet Lulu for sure.
I would love to.
And then the third thing, obviously, the affection part. That's the part that we love. That's the part that's easy. That's the part that they love for sure, too. But tell me kind of what's your recommendation there? Is there any type of affection that maybe is unwanted? Is there any type of affection that we need to be aware of? I mean, tell me kind of.
I'm so glad you brought that up. And the reason being is because, it's great to show your animals affection. I mean, that's what they strive for. That's what they want. But you have to make sure that you're giving affection at an appropriate time. And what I mean by that is if you are nurturing a very anxious or hyper behavior, you're petting them, consoling them, maybe trying to calm them down. If there's a lightning storm, fireworks, you're actually going to amplify that behavior. You're going to encourage it.
Yeah.
So we only want to make sure that we give affection and nurture behavior that's desired, such as calmness. If they're being very relaxed around new people, if they're laying down next to our feet in the living room, it's a great time to give them affection because you're amplifying that. You're showing them, this is what I want you to do.
When you do this, this is what I like.
That's the reward. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you can give them that affection. You can probably give them a little treat too, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I'd like to think I'm a better trainer than I am, but I think most of the time it's the treats that I use, if I'm honest with myself.
No, you told me, are you allowed to share on air your secret treat? Because you told me about it, and I don't want to share it.
I think I'm going to share it.
Okay, good. I want to hear.
The secret treat is hot dogs.
I liked the pause too, by the way. We could put dramatic music over that.
It's so simple, but it really is a great tool to use. It smells. You know, I smell like hot dog, I think, every day of my life. And the dogs just love it. And I cut it into really small pieces so it can go really far. The biggest thing you want to remember, though, is dogs handle hot dogs the same way we do. So if they're a little overweight, probably not the best tool to use right now.
Not a lot of hot
dogs.
Or not a
lot of it, yes. So they will gain that weight quickly with a hot dog.
They'll crave it.
They will crave it. Yeah.
And then they'll go sit on the couch and watch TV.
Just like us.
So my next fun fact, I like this one. And you probably know this, but I didn't. So nose prints. Did you know that dogs' nose prints are as unique as human fingerprints?
Yep. Their
and
DNA.
Can be used to identify them.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
Isn't that so cool? I actually just recently found that out this year since I started my presentation series, and it's been so interesting learning these facts. But their DNA is pretty much on their nose.
And then the other one I really love is that petting dogs is proven to lower blood pressure of dog owners. So all we have to do is, if your blood pressure's high, Go to Pause for Live and start petting dogs.
Doctors should start writing that on their little slips when they hand that out. Prescription, get a dog.
We don't want to put you on the drugs first. Let's try this.
Go to the animal shelter. That's how we're going to get more people in there.
That's right.
Work with the doctors.
I need 30 minutes of petting per day.
Done.
So I think that's kind of neat anyway. So we talk hot dogs as treats, but and we talk that obviously it's not the highest quality of food, and so let's probably not use hot dogs as the only source of nutrition for the dogs. But tell me about that, and tell me how you steer the dog owners to say, hey, dogs need fuel, right? Dogs need building blocks for their cells, just like humans do, and so I think it's important to kind of realize that, and there's good food and there's bad food. And I know as recently as maybe a couple of months ago, they were talking about some dog food company that was being recalled because it had this or that in it. What do we look for? How should we know? What's the best? All that kind of stuff.
Well, I first always tell my clients to advise with their vet, because the vet knows what the dog needs. A lot of dogs experience food allergies just like we do.
Sure.
So it's always being aware of that. Looking for the good products. There are websites out there that will actually rate different brands and tell you exactly why. So 5 stars being the best.
Right.
So looking into resources like that. And then a lot of really good pet stores will actually allow you to bring home the food, test it out, for a week or so, see how your dog handles it, and then you can take it back if it's not working for you, and they'll give you a refund to get a different brand. So it's just making sure that you're not just finding the biggest bang for your buck,
right? Because
that's really usually not the case. A lot of times shedding will significantly decrease when you get the right brand.
When you have good dog food.
Mm-hmm. You'll see a much better looking teeth, which a lot of dogs die young from gum disease because we don't really think about a dog's teeth like we think about our own.
Right.
So just making sure you do your research, but it really is per dog what they need.
Yeah. I know that you can go as little as just the cheapest kibble you can find, and then as expensive as the dog's eating better than the humans.
Oh yes, easy to do.
Like, hey, that looks pretty good.
Easy to do.
How come I'm eating this when he gets that type of thing? But are you kind of partial at all in the organic, in the wet versus dry, and any of that kind of stuff? What do you kind of see mostly?
I love the combination of wet and dry together.
Yeah.
Now, the problem with just feeding your dog wet is a lot of times kibble is a great source to chip down tartar, certain types of kibble.
Right.
So if you're just feeding wet and you're not taking care of your dog's teeth, that can be an issue. And then also, the wet food is also great for the dog's, in most cases, digestive system.
Yeah.
Making things flow a little bit better. So combining both is good. Now, if anybody is thinking about switching their dog food, I highly recommend for the next about 4 to 6 days, combining the old food with the new food half and half, so that they don't go from one to the other. A lot of times you can see some stomach problems from switching that quickly. So anytime you make a transition, even if it's the same brand but a different flavor, just to be safe, make sure you combine for about a week or so.
And then they can kind of realize, hey, there's the similar, that's how we feed little kids too. You know that, right?
When I became licensed, I actually had to take child psychology. You'd
Really?
be amazed how similar, or how many similarities they are.
Well, and the interesting thing is, like, I know my wife especially, and a lot of human people really don't like the comparison of dogs and babies, because it's like,
I think I do it too often.
Oh yeah, that's what my baby did. And like, oh, I didn't know he had kids. No, I have a dog. And they're like, no, that's not the same.
It's a fur baby.
There's a lot of similarities, and so I think it's very interesting.
There are a lot of similarities.
And that's definitely one of them as far as introducing new foods. Next fun little fact here. Tell me what you think the biggest recorded dog is. How much he weighed, maybe how big he was.
Okay, if I were to guess, I know the tallest was the Dane, but I think the biggest was a Mastiff, and I think he was like 360 pounds or something.
343 is and you're right, an English Mastiff named Zorba. Which how can you not be named Zorba? Now I wonder how many hot dogs Zorba, but lest you think Zorba was overweight at 343 pounds, he did measure 8 feet 3 inches from nose to tail.
I think if this is the same dog I'm thinking, there was a picture of him next to a horse, and it was absurd how large he was next to this horse.
That's a big dog, 8 feet.
I love big dogs, but that is a lot of dogs. That's a lot of hot dogs. Like you
Man,
said.
I'll tell you, that's. and then tell me, how old do you think the oldest dog on record was?
Oh, I don't know this one. The oldest dog. Gosh, a lot of them get up to 20. Let's say 28 years old.
You're really, really close. 29 years and 5 months.
That is. What does it say? What kind of dog?
It was an Australian Shepherd.
Well, I have a chance then. Dante's got a chance.
There you go.
Nice long
29
life.
years, 5 months, which if people don't know, and I don't really know the conversion, but they say it's more than 160 years old for a human.
Wow.
Which we were just talking about the 113-year-old. I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
Maybe we should be interviewing this dog.
I think so.
Forget the human.
That's impressive.
Anyway, so again.
And that's not a small dog. Usually it's the small ones that have the long lifespan. So that's impressive.
Well, there you go. So maybe just because this Australian little dog was running around and hurting the cattle, I don't know.
To be honest, he probably wasn't eating as many hot dogs as my dog eats, so maybe that's the issue.
Oh my gosh, Amy, we're 3 minutes away from when you have to leave. So tell me,
sad.
I know that was fast.
That
we'll
was
have you on
fast.
soon again.
I'd love that.
As long as people, liked having you.
Fingers crossed, guys.
In fact, I should say we're definitely open if anyone wants to call and ask you a question. We've got a few minutes here right now. Definitely feel free. It's 657-1340, 657-1340 is our number here. If you have any questions for Amy, if you're out there thinking, hey, I'm glad she's on, but we didn't address this thing, please call. If she has to leave beforehand and you call and you're like, darn it, well, we can get that question to her and we can get it answered for sure. But tell me in these last 3 minutes, what's something that you just are burning and desiring to have people know about what they should be doing with their dogs? Maybe around the holidays, if there's something. I know one thing I thought of was, hey, I don't want sorry, there's a call coming in. Well, it was. Now it's not. Whoever just called, you can call back. Anyway, chocolate, these kind of foods that are dangerous for the dogs.
Yes, making sure, because I know we like to fill our countertops full of, goodies. We have a lot of counter surfers out there. So we want to make sure that we are either, watching our dogs or making sure to keep them away, because we don't want to have to make an extra trip to the vet clinic during the holidays. Things like onions, grapes, there's a list you can find online, but chocolate obviously is a very well-known one. And then my biggest thing, honestly, Scott, is educating yourself on dog body language. Yeah. Because so many times our organizations here receive animals because of dog bites, potential dog attacks. Maybe it was a little too risque for the person. They weren't comfortable with it.
Right.
So often our dogs are communicating so beautifully to us, but we're not knowing what to look for. And dogs experience stress. They experience anxiety, fear. So if we don't know, for example, there are some signs, and maybe you already know this, but lip licking, stretching, yawning, scratching, out of context can actually show a sign of stress. So I may be working with a dog and the dog starts yawning. Well, my client sees a very tired dog.
Yeah, this dog's tired.
Exactly, but that's actually very out of context. So I see a very stressed out dog. We have to change our format. He's not enjoying this. So knowing what to look for and educating yourself is really important to me.
Yeah, I think if we kind of start to pay attention, it's very pattern-like. I mean, really, my dog, when she comes in, when she knows it's time for bed, she likes me to put her to bed, which I don't know if my wife knows this. Maybe I shouldn't be saying this. She used to walk to where she sleeps, but now she likes, so she'll come in from going to the bathroom and she'll sit down on the and this is the only time she does it at nighttime. She'll sit down right on the rug right before you go outside, and she'll wait for me to come pick her up and take her to bed, which I indulge, which I probably shouldn't, but it's kind of our time there.
If it feels right to you, and you're not seeing behavioral issues come out of it, then I can't tell you to stop doing that. Not at all.
Amy, thanks so much for being on. Tell people how they can get in contact with you. I know you got a Facebook page for your business, and probably one that you would welcome questions, things like that, but tell people where it is and how to get
so I have a Paws Forward Dog Training Facebook page. I also have a website, and that's www.paws-forward.com. Somebody stole the one without the dash.
Darn it.
I know. And then you can always reach me on my phone, and that's 616-902-0205. And again, I'm always happy to answer any questions, concerns, and even any animals that we have available through Paws for Life or the Heber Valley Animal Shelter.
Did you know that dogs have sweat glands?
Aren't they on their, hold on, their pads?
Yeah, right in between their toes. I'm telling you, I keep trying to stump you. You're fantastic.
Next time.
Amy Francis, guys, really, really great dog trainer, dog knowledgeable person, dog psychologist, dog lover, dog trainer, and
the master,
and cat wanting to train, but hasn't yet been able to.
The desire, but
Master Amy, thank you for coming on, Amy. I know again you can hear her here on KTMP even tomorrow. You say, right?
Yep, tomorrow, every Friday at noon.
Every Friday during Trading Post.
Yes. Yes, talking about the available animals.
And we know that Sandy loves dogs.
Oh, she sure does. She is fun to talk with.
Sandy's got a great appreciation for sure for those dogs. So I'm going to let you go. You need to get down and do something as important. I was going to say more important than this, but what could be more important than
nothing.
this?
Scott, we were talking about that.
So close to as important, but not quite. Thank you again for coming on, Amy. And you guys, any questions you have for her, feel free to get in contact with her. And you have a happy holiday season. We'll see you soon.
You do the same. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
I almost feel bad throwing out some of these quotes and putting Amy on the spot like that, but look how well she did. So now those of you that are listening can understand how great she is and how knowledgeable she is. So let's switch gears again. There are so many things we can talk about with animal health, not just in the animals themselves, but in the help that it has for us as humans. I mean, as far as the psychology of people's lifespans, of people, how happy they are, things like that. A lot of times when you get a dog, and when I say a dog, I mean the right dog, it can really, really help out. And so we have some great resources here in town. Paws for Life, obviously, a really great nonprofit organization here that helps. And if you've never been down to the shelter, maybe that's one thing that you can do. If you're not ready to get a dog yet for your kids or a pet, go to the shelter and pay attention to some of these animals that are there, and you just might find someone that you can take home. So again, thanks again to Amy for coming on. I wanted to talk about the article today. Actually, let's go through a few events that are still going on this Christmas season here in the Valley. Christmas season. It doesn't even look like Christmas right though. I keep having to look at the top of the mountains to make sure and realize that I'm not in Texas, that there is snow around. So it is there up there. Hopefully it'll start coming down here too and we can have a white Christmas, but we can't go the whole winter without it, right? So it'll come sometime. Let's talk about on the 19th and 20th. Again, this is kind of all part of that Swiss Christmas that we're doing, the Christmas talent contest down in the Midway Town Hall. So there will be local county performers, and you can get tickets at Days Market or highvalleyarts.org. That's December 19th and 20th. So that's coming up here this weekend at 7 o'clock, or you can buy the tickets at the door. And then, of course, the Swiss Chorus and Swiss Bells Christmas concert, obviously always a really great event. And they do a really nice job. If you haven't heard a Bells concert, I'm telling you, this is a really, really good thing to check out. It definitely gets you in the Christmas spirit. And that's on December 22nd at 7 o'clock, and that's also still there at the Midway Town Hall. The other fun thing I did recently was out ice skating, and of course our ice rink is open, and people are skating on it. And so, again, if you want to feel like it's wintertime, go out there because it's cold on the ice, that's for sure. As far as health-related activities that are going on, obviously remember there are classes I'm sure that are happening. There is the meditation that goes on at Balance on Thursday nights. And so, anyway, let's support some of these local places that are trying to educate us as far as how we can be as healthy as we want to. Let's talk about this article that I found, and I actually posted it to my timeline on Facebook because I just wanted to have it available and ready for when I had this show this morning, and it actually garnered quite a conversation. There were many people from all over in my friends list that kind of took to commenting on it and talking about it and asking questions. So hopefully it's as interesting to you guys as it was to the people looking on Facebook. But the FDA is actually warning and telling people not to give young kids cold medicine, and I'll give you the age, but it's very interesting because, again, right, this is a time, especially we live in the desert, the air is dry, it's now colder, people are going to start coughing, we're going to get we're going to get sick, we're going to get colds, that kind of a thing, even with a fever. and the parents say, sheesh, we want to do something for this child. We want to make sure that this child is not suffering. And so if there's a cough, what do we go to? We go to those over-the-counter cough medications that we all took and that we still probably some of us take. But this is what the FDA is saying, is that when we're talking about babies and toddlers, that we shouldn't give them the cough and cold medicine. And so again, here it is, cold and flu season. The Food and Drug Administration recommends against over-the-counter cold medication in young kids, mostly because they're still not really sure how beneficial they are for this age group, while the risks of overdosing side effects are a little more worrisome. And so we're specifically talking about over-the-counter medications. So this is cold meds that you would just go to the store and buy on your own without a prescription for children under 2. So really one of the reasons colds are self-limited, obviously patients are going to get better on their own within a week or 2. And so sometimes these medications aren't really going to help relieve any symptoms, or maybe even relieve a few symptoms, but won't actually change the course of the cold to make it go away. Again, that's easier said than done when the child is actively suffering and you think, sheesh, a week or 2 seems like a lifetime, to be honest. And then it's interesting because one of these pediatricians says kids are going to get colds. They're going to get 4, 5, 6 a year sometimes. We don't necessarily have to do anything. They're going to last 7 to 10 days regardless of what we do. As far as that advice goes, I think, I don't know, that's not where I'm at, right? 4, 5, 6 a year. For me, I think when my kids are sick once a year, it's a different thing. So again, I think at the end of this, we'll kind of talk about my ideas and kind of the things that I've picked up along the way as far as helping us not just help with the symptoms, but then also prevent getting sick. This is not a time of year where everyone gets sick. I know it seems that way, but there are a lot of people that don't. So it's funny, I'm looking at this on my phone and someone just tried to call. So now, okay, here we go. So now actually the American Academy of Pediatrics will recommend that kids under 4 should never take the cough or cold medicine. And then even in 2008, Health Canada told parents not to give OTC, which is over-the-counter meds, to the kids under 6 who are battling the cold. And I said it was due to limited evidence that the medication actually worked. Even forced the manufacturers to relabel more than 700 products so that do not use in children under 6 warnings were put on there. So that's in Canada, is every label of these over-the-counter cold and cough medicines say don't use under for children under the age of 6. One of these doctors says, we found that parents often can make errors with liquid medications. It's often difficult for them to correctly measure the liquid medications. They don't understand what a milliliter is, may be confused about the difference between a teaspoon and a tablespoon. I know I've done that with salt in some of my recipes, right? Teaspoon, and all of a sudden, here's a tablespoon of it, and no one wants to eat it. But basically what they did is they did this review, and within a 13-year time span leading up to the review, this federal agency received 164 reports of adverse reactions in kids under 12 because of the over-the-counter medications. Young kids encountered increased heart rate, decreased consciousness, abnormal heart rhythms, and even convulsions. And so what are we supposed to do? Right? And I guess that's where people listening are going to say, hey, okay, so thanks for telling us that, but now what should we do? So really one of the interesting things that they talked about was giving honey to tame a child's cold, right? So you're thinking about this kid that's trying to go to sleep, trying to, get the rest that little body needs, but keep coughing, maybe waking up because they're coughing. My son had his own little coughing fit, quote unquote, when we just had our baby. He was at my mother-in-law's house, and he was downstairs and just started coughing, and came upstairs, and it really kind of messed with his sleep that night for sure. And so obviously we want to be able to do something. And what this article says is one of the best things that they've seen in kids that are prone to cough in the nighttime is giving about a tablespoon of honey, and just kind of a spoonful of honey, I guess, is not how the song goes, but that's what they're kind of recommending. Now, not for babies 12 months old and under. those are kind of, we watch for some allergies and some other things that can happen there. That's recommended not to give kids that age honey anyway. But in these kind of toddler age children, and even up into 8, 9, 10, if you give a spoonful of the right stuff, and again, somebody on my feed said, well, that's kind of weird because honey's very highly sweetened, and you're getting this child to calm down and go to sleep, and then you feed them a spoonful of sugar. It seems a little counterintuitive. And so what I'd say there, and what I did say on the comment, was that obviously if you just go and buy the Sugar Bear stuff at the grocery store, that's not always even really honey. You turn around and look at the ingredients, and it says that it's a honey flavored type of product. And so that's where living in a valley such as this comes so advantageous, because there are so many people and many, many places and resources that you can get your own raw local honey here. And so that type of honey, again, it's going to be a little more complex. It's going to be a little harder to break down. It's not going to spike the blood sugar quite as much as something very processed and just sugar. There's going to be enzymes. There's going to be all kinds of things. And then you get that added benefit, especially this time of year when things, allergies aren't really a big issue right now. And so if we start giving kids honey right now, it can kind of build up that pollen, defense mechanisms, things like that, for when spring comes and things start to grow. I think you might notice a big difference in these kids maybe that are prone to the allergies. And so what do I do? I guess that's the end of that article. And it's very interesting because, again, I think it's easy to talk about this, but until you wake up at 3 o'clock and your child is coughing and you're like, well, what am I supposed to do if I'm not recommended to give these medicines, but there's something, I should do something. And so this is where kind of that naturalist training kind of comes in. I think the honey is a great idea. Even if they wake up coughing, say, hey, try to take this instead of the over-the-counter medications. Let's take a spoonful of this raw honey and see if that coats the throat enough to calm them down. Somebody else on my feed brought up humidifiers, and I know that this is a good place in the desert to use humidifiers. We didn't really know what humidifiers were in Texas because it was so humid, so it didn't really, we just called that air, right? That's all that was. And so basically you get these machines and it warms up the water and then puts out the steam, and basically what that'll do is kind of help some of these dry areas, right? As you breathe this steam in, it'll kind of moisten some of the throat and the nose and things like that, and it can be very, very helpful. So you can take that one step further even and get what's called the diffuser. Now, diffuser is very similar to a humidifier, except for a diffuser is going to put other things than just water into the air. And so most people are using some sort of essential oil or some sort of something that they want to be internalized, and so it comes out in this vapor form. And then people can kind of breathe it in. Now, a lot of the companies out there have specific breathe type of oils that you can diffuse, and the one from doTERRA is called Breathe. There's one from a company that just came out called Breathe Easy, I think. There's all these kinds of things. You can kind of find whatever you want. Again, with essential oils, if you're going to take them into your body either through ingestion or breathing them in, you definitely want to make sure that it's a good company, a good reputable company, one that definitely makes sure that what they put in their oils is safe to be ingested. But a really, really effective way to not only calm the child down, right, even just a simple lavender is very calming, and then also will kind of get into those lungs, get into those air passages, and start to help calm that down. Now, you do not have to diffuse. You can also put on topically. When I was in chiropractic school and kind of new to all of this kind of stuff, kids would have a cough and we'd think, well, what are we supposed to do? And so I got a really great recipe from one of my mentors there in school, and she loves it for a kind of an antiviral cough type of an issue. And so I'll share that with you. Also, I also shared it online, and it's one that we use all the time, and the kids love it. So first, you take yourself what we call a carrier oil, mostly because you can kind of use it a little easier, and it's not quite as concentrated, especially in these little kids. The one that we would recommend was walnut oil. I know you can use olive. Olive is a little more fragrant, and so it's a little harder to get the essence of the oils to mask the smell of the olive oil, but that's an okay carrier oil. But I just always recommend walnut because you're not going to be tempted to use it really for anything else. I know you can cook in it and stuff like that, but it's a little bit of a different oil. So we got walnut oil. We got about 2 ounces of it. And the 3 oils, essential oils that this lady said to put in was about 4 to 5 drops of lavender, again for that calming and kind of stimulating the parasympathetic nervous system. Remember that sympathetic nervous system or stress, that fight or flight, will heighten our breathing. It will actually make our breathing a little more shallow. It will constrict airways, those kinds of things. This is why steroids are very effective in kids with asthma and allergies and things like that, because the steroid is going to, sorry, I said constrict. It actually opens the airways, and so that's why we use those in those types of situations, because we know we need to breathe more, and so those airways are going to be opened up some. But it makes the breathing a little more shallow, a little more rapid. And so if we can get the parasympathetic nervous system to kind of kick in, help the child relax, maybe get the breathing a little deeper and a little bit slower, that's when those coughs can kind of subside a little bit. So lavender does a really, really nice job of that. And so again, 4 to 5 drops of that lavender. Then eucalyptus. Now, anybody that doesn't know what eucalyptus is has never smelt Vicks Vapor Rub. Like, that's the active, that's that smell, that's that, you know what eucalyptus smells like. It's a really, really nice oil, actually. And again, the Vicks Vapor Rub is going to have other things in it. It's not always going to be essential oil type stuff. They do have a natural one that I'm okay with, but I kind of like getting the eucalyptus on its own, and so we use that also. A really, really effective air passage opener, so to speak. Again, if anyone has sinus issues or anything like that, eucalyptus is a really nice thing to kind of even just rub on your upper lip, just like you would with the Vicks Vapor Rub. So you put 4 to 5 drops of that in there also. And then the other one is geranium. It's not the most smell-appeasing one, but when you put it into this mix, it's really, really nice. Again, it has some antiviral properties, and so if we're just worried about, right, the common cold is a virus, and the reason you can't really take medication for it is because it's so quickly mutating. You can't even find what virus you're trying to fight anyway, and so most people just say, well, just live with it for a week. But something like this can kind of target naturally viruses and say, hey, let's relax on the virus, let's kill these viruses and help with the cough. So again, about 2 ounces of a carrier oil, usually walnut is what I use, and then 4 to 5 drops of lavender, 4 to 5 drops of eucalyptus, and probably 2 to 3 drops of the geranium. You don't need quite as much. Then what you do is when it's bedtime, you rub a little bit on the chest of the child, a little bit on the back, and then I like to rub it on the soles of the feet and put socks on. There's just something about rubbing those oils on the feet. Now, if you haven't ever heard of that, it might sound kind of goofy to you, but most people, when they deal in essential oils, this is not something that that is foreign to them. And so again, I just kind of put some on the feet, put some on the chest and the back, have the child lay down, and I'll tell you, it works like a dream for those coughs. We really haven't had, in my house, had a cough last really much more than a couple of days. So that's kind of your recipe there. That's something I do. You can do that prophylactically, meaning before a cough comes on, if you're worried because, hey, this is the season that kind of stuff can happen, you can put that on beforehand. There's some other nice scents out there, other nice oils out there that you can use for that kind of thing. Also, there's the On Guard from the doTERRA company, or the Pro Shield from Ameo, or I know there's Thieves from Young Living. I don't mean to leave other companies out. These are just the ones that I'm familiar with. And you can use that prophylactically or also for when you're involved in the symptoms. Obviously, the fever can be somewhat of a concern too, and so you want to just monitor these things. I guess the best advice is if the cold runs longer than, of course, than you would expect it, or if the fever gets higher than you think it ought to, then those are good times to really consult your medical professional and get some advice there, because sometimes you'll need a little bit harder. But I'll tell you that we use this and we've never had to go any further than that. So hopefully that can help people out there who are worried about it. But I did just want to kind of put my my support behind that research finding, that if the FDA is telling you, hey, under 2 you shouldn't use it, American Pediatric Association saying, hey, under 4 you shouldn't use it. Again, this study in Canada says, hey, under 6 you shouldn't use it. I think it's definitely time for us to start talking about what a good alternative would be, and so that we don't have to try to run to that in a pinch, in a time that we feel like, hey, this child needs something, let's just use this, because we're really finding out that those harms that can happen are a little more, a little higher risk than the benefit that you get. So that's kind of the article that I liked. Again, there was a good discussion that went on Facebook. I hope that's some good information for you guys. The last thing I wanted to talk about was this young man that I said at the beginning. His name is Bernardo Lapaio, and Bernardo was born in Brazil, but he moved into the United States when he was 5. So that was back in 1906, which I was not alive. He was born in August of 1901, and he maintains a website. I think his family helps him with it. But if you want to be inspired, I want you to watch a video of this guy, because he is 113 years old. He celebrated that birthday this year in August. 113, as mentally awake as anyone you would think of. He goes for walks every morning. And so people said, hey, but what are some of these what are some of these things? What are some of these secrets? And so he definitely has foods that he completely avoids. But he has 5 foods that he said his father, who lived in, well past his 90s, he said these are the foods that his father said to definitely put in his daily diet routine. And so the first one is garlic. Garlic we know is really good, not just for warding off vampires, which I guess that kind of prolongs your lifespan if you get bit by a vampire. But any movie I've seen, they're not all that happy to be immortal. So anyway, good for antibacterial, antiviral. It's a really healthy herb and spice. We call it a functional food when we talk nutrition. And so get some garlic on things. Again, you'll want to know where your garlic comes from. You want good raw, whole garlic to use. Then honey is the second one. Again, one we've already talked about. I am sure that he doesn't buy his honey from the grocery store in the Bear. I hate to give that Bear a bad name, but really that's very, very processed. It's basically liquid sugar. And so the honey that he's talking about, obviously it's a raw honey. It's got all the enzymes, it's got all the stuff. And I'll tell you guys, there's a difference. I don't know if you've compared the two, but once you go, you don't go back. That's for sure. And we've been doing raw honey for a long time now, and we really, really just like it. It's a great food to use. The third one he said is cinnamon. I thought this was interesting, so I had to kind of look a little bit more. But cinnamon's a really, really good, again, health promoter. It's an immune booster. And this is a great time of year for cinnamon. And so if you guys are cinnamon lovers, I would sprinkle it on things. I would get a good source of it. It can really be a nice addition to oatmeal, to some of these other things that we usually just sweeten with sugar. I would even try to tell you, hey, some of the stuff that you put sugar on, maybe try the cinnamon and see what happens. The fourth one you guys will like, and I wish Amy was still here because she would be excited. It's not donuts, but it is chocolate. He credits the chocolate for his good health. He says this is kind of one of those that he likes as a treat. But again, it's not Hershey's, right? It's not your milk chocolate. He likes the dark chocolate, the really good, rich stuff. Again, I mean, you can eat a whole pound of Hershey's chocolate very easily. The dark chocolate's a little more bitter. It's a little more savory, to be honest, but it has really, really great antioxidant properties. And then the fifth food is olive oil. And again, I know olive oil has sort of been pushed into the forefront in the last few years, but this is something that he's been doing his whole life. And he uses olive oil exclusively in the oil family. That's what he uses when he ingests. But his other thing that he said, he likes to tout how nice his skin looks. And he says it's not a bragging, it's just the facts, which I think is great. And he credits his smooth skin and healthy skin to using olive oil as a moisturizer. And so he says his routine is he'll come home and it's funny because you can tell that, you know, the year or the time frame that he grew up in. He said you come home from a day at work and you're dirty, and what's better than jumping in a warm shower? And so he'll get in the shower and he'll take a nice warm shower, and he says for the last 5 or so minutes, make it as warm as you can stand because it'll really open up your pores. And then after you're done, get some olive oil and start massaging it on your arms and your legs and in your body, and just getting that olive oil on you. And he said, don't worry about getting it on the sheets, because if your pores are nice and open, it only takes about 10 to 15 minutes before it's gone completely into the body. And so that was one of his secrets too, something he likes to do. I don't know if I'm going to start adopting that yet into my routine, but it may not be a terrible idea. I know a lot of people right now are using coconut oil, kind of in that same sort of mindset, and I think it's kind of the same idea. But those are his 5 foods. He says garlic, honey, cinnamon, chocolate, and olive oil. That as much as he can, he puts these into his foods. And the interesting thing is honey, cinnamon, and chocolate, for me, these don't sound like health foods, right? This doesn't sound like somebody, right? There's not spinach, there's not kale, there's not acai berries or anything like that. But these are very functional foods that have really good immune boosting and health promoting properties. And so if you're one out there looking and saying, man, all I do is eat the same stuff every day, I know it's good for me, but is there something else I can add to it? Here are some ideas. Hopefully this can kind of open up a little bit and give you some other options for sure. Obviously at 113, he's had some life experience. And so it's really, really interesting to kind of hear him say what he credits his health to. Now, I would love to hear a list of things that he completely avoids. I watched a video that he was talking about. The first thing that he mentioned was French fries, which I thought was very interesting because, again, as we know, in the schools, French fries is still a vegetable. But he says that's something that he never eats and doesn't feel like anyone should eat. And I guess I have to second that for him. So anyway, 113-year-old guys who can walk around and be as healthy. Also, he talked about his mental acuity, and he said, you know, he likes to read and he likes to do crossword puzzles and he likes to play checkers. So those are the things that he does to keep his mental state also at high levels. So I tell people that, and geneticists say that we should be able to live to 130, that our DNA is encoded for us to live that long and well and be completely sound of mind and everything. And I say I don't know if I want 130, but I would like to live to 110. And so hopefully, you know, I can adopt some of these principles that he talks about and some of these other people that have been on here to help me in my own healthcare aspirations, and to be 110 years old and still be talking and still be sharing knowledge and things like that. I don't know if I'll still be on the radio at 110. I guess I can ask Sandy if how long my contract's for. But anyway, so that's kind of my my show for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed what Amy had to tell you. I hope that what I had to say here at the end was somewhat stimulating, somewhat helpful for you today. Again, a couple of weeks that I won't be on the air. Next week is Christmas. I hope everyone out there has just a great holiday time, remembers what this season is about. Take the time to serve and to help and to give of yourself. That's when people are the most happiest. We know that for sure. And then the next week after that is New Year's Day, and so I'll be watching football and enjoying some time with my family that way also. On the 8th, we'll be back, and we got some great guests for the new year, and we'll talk obviously about how to get over that holiday sugar hangover, whatever we want to call it, and how to get back on track and how to make 2015 the healthiest year possible. And so just enjoy your holiday season, enjoy the next few weeks. If you have any need for motivation to be healthy, remember we talked about kind of writing down some of those health goals, why you're as healthy as you want to be, and if you ever get into trouble, you can pull that list out and figure it out. And then, of course, as I say, if you do if you have no other reason to be healthy, or no other reason to get active and do something for yourself, then don't do it because I said just do it for the health of it. Thank you for listening this morning.